Welcome to The Pulse, where we delve deep into the issues and ideas that are shaping the future of education. I'm your host, Rick Surrency, Superintendent of the Putnam County School District, and each week we'll be talking to teachers, administrators, and other experts in the field about the latest trends, best practices, and most pressing concerns in education. Whether you're a teacher, a parent, or just someone who cares about education, this podcast is for you. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the pulse. Well, welcome to our podcast today. I'm Rick Surrency. I'm the superintendent of the Putnam County School District, and I'm so pleased today to have two seniors with me today, graduating seniors from the class of 2024, who also are members of the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. And we're here today to talk to Lance Dollar and Rosemary Morales, and they're both from different schools, and just want to find out some things they've experienced this year as part of the Advisory Council, and just some thoughts from a student perspective on, what are some things that we as adults can do better in the Putnam County School District, because our students are our customers. We want to make sure we're doing the best we can, and we always have room for improvement. So welcome to both of you, and I've got to know you pretty good, and I know neither one of you are bashful, and we're going to try to really get you to talk, on the podcast today. And I've interviewed Lance before, but we did it before we had cameras. Mm-hmm. So now the camera's on you, so no pressure. But I do would like for both of you just to introduce yourself, tell us the school you go to, and just give us a little background about who you are, just so our audience can maybe have a better idea of who they're listening to today. So, Rosemary, talk to us and welcome here to our podcast, and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, my name is Rosemary Morales, and I am from Palaca Junior Senior High School. Originally, I was born and raised in Ponce, Puerto Rico, and I moved to Florida in 2015, and I've learned a lot. It has been a change. A really big change, and I've really enjoyed our school district. The way school has been and the way I've carried myself out throughout high school has really been so life-changing. I've just learned so much about it. I really enjoyed the Student Advisory Council. I've learned a lot. I've opened up about many topics. I'm usually introverted, but this really has helped me grow as an individual, and I learned a lot, and it's just really, I think it's something I never thought I needed.
Well, I'm actually come back and ask you some details about your experience in a few minutes. So, but welcome to our podcast today, and I never thought of you as an introvert, by the way, but
really,
yeah, but you're doing a great job. So, Lance, welcome back. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself for those who don't know you.
So I'm Lance Dollar. I'm a senior at QI Roberts Junior Senior High School, and in the fall I'll be attending the University of North Florida for a degree in sports management, which that's changed a little bit from the first podcast I was on, so I've had to change. So, but the one thing I know with this council, it's been good to see, because getting all the different middle schools and high schools together and learning from other kids and what's going on in their schools allows us to kind of see because what's going on at your school, but you don't know the bigger schools, especially what being at like QI, what goes on at like Palaca High School, Interlock, and things like that. So you learn about different perspectives and what are going on in other schools.
That's great. And I found that to be interesting too, just having you meet other students from other schools. So thank you for being here. And I know you're going to which college?
University of North Florida.
University of North Florida. Have you decided which college yet? Or I know we've talked about it some.
Yes. I will be enrolling at St. John's in the fall.
Good for you.
Yes.
And I think you're looking at some type of medical field?
Yes, sir.
Right. So kind of working out the details there, right?
Yes, working out the details.
Yeah. Well, I'm really excited for both of you. I know the future is very bright. And by the way, I say this a lot of times when I get in front of seniors or get in front of their parents. But one thing I want everybody to know about our seniors, especially these two seniors, they started ninth grade at the Putnam County School District during the height of the pandemic. If y'all remember those days?
Yeah. Oh, I remember those YouTube videos we were watching in the 8th grade and
the fall of 2020. So, and I say that, in total respect for you, you guys are a very unique class because you started at a very difficult time, and to be where you are now has been quite a journey. So hats off to both of you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes.
You know, when I first got elected superintendent back in 2016, and again, being elected superintendent, it's really important that I stay in touch with all of our stakeholders. And that includes parents and business people and, teachers and other people. But the most important people I need to listen to are our students. Because you know what? If the students aren't okay, nobody's okay, because that's what we exist for. So one of the, I helped to establish a number of different advisory groups during that period of time. And one of the groups that we probably established most recently is a student advisory council from all the different high schools, which y'all are a part of right now. And it has really been a growing experience for me because, like I said today in our meeting, that you guys shoot from the hip. You're going to tell me what I want to hear, whether I like it or not. And that's what I need to hear, both the good and the bad and the ugly. So I tell you what, I have grown as a leader, and I think our district has prospered because we are actually listening to the student voice, which I think is the most important voice. So, and y'all kind of touched on it a little bit, but Rosemary, what are some, from your point of view, and this is no right answer to this, but what do you think the purpose has been for the Student Advisory Council for the superintendent? In your opinion, what do you think the purpose is?
Really, I think the purpose is to give the students a voice, make sure that they're able to have an opinion and, let them know that their opinions matter and that they're, going to do something about it. During those meetings I attended, I learned a lot and I was open-minded about everything. I just kept a wide variety of topics, and I never thought I'd do it.
Did you learn from people from other high schools?
Yes,
has that
I
been
did.
helpful?
It has been really helpful.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about Lance, and I really think he's an interesting individual, and it's just so amazing how our group just comes together as one.
And, it's kind of like we talked about. We had a meeting today, by the way, our advisory council, and I think we talked about that when we are with our same peers all the time, our same school, we're kind of locked into the same ideas sometimes. Yeah. But meeting people outside of your normal peer group, outside of your school, really opens up, a whole new world for you, right?
Yes, it does.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And Lance, what are your thoughts about, the purpose of the Student Advisory Council that you've been attending for the past 2 years?
Yeah, so like you're touching on about sharing opinions and things like that, I think it's good to be around a different group of people a lot of the time because it's kind of preparing you what you're going to see in college and beyond that, because you're not going to be with that same group of, so I know there's like a group of like 10 kids I know I've been with since like elementary school, and a lot of us are going to different colleges. So you have to expand that group and be comfortable around other people. It's like we said, the other thing is that you have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, because that's what you're going to experience with other people.
That's really, I need to write that down. That's pretty cool. Comfortable with the uncomfortable.
I think I have to give credit to Coach Passmore at Palaca High School. I think that's what he always told us at practice for track. So
comfortable with the uncomfortable. Well, and that's really how we grow, right? If you don't, if you're not willing to look at other perspectives, try things you haven't tried before, we're really not going to come out of our box. And I think both of you going to college, especially going out of town, that's going to really open up a whole nother world, for people. And I really commend you for doing that, because it is scary. It is scary to go out and meet people you've never met before. And hopefully this experience with the advisory council has been able to maybe give you a little touch on what that might be like. So, some things we've talked about that I've been interested in is what are some things that you see are working in our school district, and what are some things that may need some improvement. And again, we talked about that some, and I didn't really prepare you for that, but what are some things that you remember that might be some positives in our district that y'all have brought to me in our meetings? Does anything stand out?
I know I remember something last year. I can't remember who it was, but someone brought up, I think there was a problem with like the bathrooms or something. They just kind of brought up themselves talking about their school. And I remember I saw something about it and it actually got fixed to the council because that student brought it up and they may not have wanted to speak to their principal or someone about it, but speaking to it in this group of other kids where they feel like they're heard, it helped them get that out and then they were able to get that problem fixed.
That's a great example. And I think I told you, when y'all do this, I'm going to keep you anonymous. I'm not going to go back to your principal and say, guess what Lance told me about the bathrooms?
Yeah.
You know, because I want it to be kind of a global from the committee. So I think, again, the student voice is really important.
Yeah.
So positive or in needs of improvement, anything stand out to you that we've talked about in the past?
A lot that has been like standing out has been like a lot of the mental health awareness. Like a lot of it has been pushed out, and I really appreciate that because we have talked about it in our council, and it's actually been pushed through. And I just really think it was just great. Like it was so positive. Like we had an assembly, they had a presentation talking about mental health, and I really think the council really came through with that.
And I think I recall the meeting. We actually had Miss Simmons, who is our head therapist, and today we had Miss Drew, who's our student services director. And again, they ask you a lot about the mental health aspects of a lot of our programs, and it's really good to hear your perspective, like you're saying right now, because we try to do what we think students are thinking about. But a lot of times what we do now may not be reaching students. So I think having that positive feedback and helping us to adapt our programming to really what's going to resonate with students some more. I know today we talked about like a resiliency camp and some of that stuff going on. And, you know, y'all gave our student services director some great feedback, some great input on what might need to be addressed in that camp that's coming up. So that's what we need to hear. And yeah, we can do surveys and we can do all that kind of stuff, but sometimes hearing it face to face and each of you hearing others do that, I think really makes it even more powerful. So next thing is talk about, you know, if there's students out there listening to this that maybe are thinking about, you know, trying to be on the council next year. And I know our principals give us names of students, but maybe they could talk to their principal and say, hey, would you consider me as part of the student advisory council for the superintendent? I think it'd really be helpful for them to hear from both of you. What are some experiences you've had this year and for you the last 2 years? What are some things we've done that maybe they could expect to maybe do next year if they were part of that? So what are some experiences you've seen, Rosemary, or you've had?
Some experiences I've had were the open discussions. Really the reassurance of, you know, being heard, and everything just flows in the room. Like once we kick it off and start talking, everything just comes to your mind. And I really think, and I really do encourage students to get out there and just step out of your comfort zone. Like it has been a huge leap for me because I was always held back up until they were like, hey, you're welcomed on the council. I'm like, alrighty. So I just stepped out of my comfort zone and I really spoke a lot. And I learned a lot about Lance, for example, a lot of the different students at our schools here in Putnam County. And I really do enjoy the time that we've placed. And I think we've done a lot of progress. And I just hope to make more progress with the upcoming students.
I've seen a lot of growth on your part from the first meeting, and sometimes you actually lead a lot of our discussions. So I'm so proud of you and how you've really grown in that role. So
thank you.
And we actually talked today about what your future is. A couple of your people that you were talking to said she's going to make a great pediatric doctor or nurse or whatever the case might be. So I think it's great that people saw some things in you that you maybe didn't see yourself. Yes. That's been really encouraging, hasn't it?
It has.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll look into that.
We'll see. We'll check back with you in a few years and see if you did that. So,
of course.
Lance, what are some activities that really stand out to you that maybe people listening might be interested in joining this council because of some of the stuff that we've done?
Well, I think a lot of the kids, if they're considering it, they definitely should. You might as well try and just see where you can get it because, I mean, it's more than likely your principal will let you do it. So you might as well get out of that comfort zone and see what you're capable of doing and just learn a lot. Because I know, like today with the discussion we had, I learned a lot about other people in the group. And it's not like you're sitting there just with your people from your school. You're not just talking to them, you're talking to everyone from the district. So you learn multiple perspectives and what everything's going on in the district. And personally, I've learned a lot of things that I didn't realize were going on in the district, a lot of programs. Like you talked about, we've had a lot of speakers who have taught us stuff, we've done a lot of activities together. I think the one we had about a month ago, we did a lot of STEM stuff. They had posters, so they were trying to figure out what kind of programs should be in the schools. So I think it's really, you're letting all these students come together and they're determining their future and for other students. So if you want to be a part of that, you should definitely join this so you can make a difference.
You know, one thing I heard today, I know you and Emmy Delaney, who has been on our podcast before, we're talking about both of you are separate high schools, but both of you are in the Cambridge program. And just to hear the different perspectives from two different Cambridge students in two different schools was really interesting to me. So thank y'all for sharing that. As we wind down today, I want to, again, for that group that may join next year, think about some ideas that next year's Student Advisory Council might consider. And again, you know what's been going on in the district. What's some things that either we have done this year that might be good to talk about for next year? Or what are some things that we didn't get to that you might be thinking, man, if we have another meeting, we should really consider talking about that. So I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but what comes to mind as ideas for next year?
Well, a lot of like the different, like a variety of like curriculums. Like I know we've talked about different STEM programs. I think we should try to include more to it.
Okay.
But really nothing else comes to mind because I think our district's doing really good.
So really think about some of the courses that we're offering and make sure those are courses that really resonate with student needs, that type of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's great. Lance, what are your thoughts about ideas for next year?
One thing I was thinking about when it comes to this question was, so we get together about, 3 times over about 3 months. So I was thinking, because I know, like today there was one other QI student. I think there's 3 or 4 that are on QIs for this council. And so one thing to me would be maybe outside of these meetings, the schools themselves, kind of those people who are in the council, get together and kind of share ideas to bring to the council when they come to those bigger meetings, so it comes across school. So this isn't necessarily something y'all would put on to the students, but if students, stepped up from their school and they're like, hey, let's come together this day, like day before the meeting, and let's come up with these ideas so we can present them to everybody and then try to get some change through that.
Good point. That reminded me of something that actually in a previous meeting, we were talking about discipline and attendance and how can we improve our discipline. And somebody, might have been you, had actually brought up the idea, I need to go, I'm talking about one of our students, I need to go talk to one of our students that's in Solutions, our long-term discipline program, have a conversation with them and bring that information back to our council. Because I've heard people say the people you have on the Student Advisory Council are kind of like the best of the best, and they're the ones that make all the good grades and never get in trouble. I can see that. But we represent all students, whether they are making good grades or not. I think that's very powerful, and I think that might be something we want to look at next year, bringing in all the perspectives, because we can't have all those students come in, but we can sure hear their voices through y'all bringing that back. So just something that we definitely would consider for next year. But I want to thank both of you. I'll tell you, one of my favorite times is having our meetings with our Superintendent Student Advisory Council, because it really picks me up, because I just deal with adults all the time, most of the time. Adults sometimes can be challenging, but students, I'm a former teacher, and I obviously love working with students, so it really does encourage me a lot to see that, and I really want to see what you guys are doing in the next several years, and want you to come back and maybe come back and visit our students at our schools and say, you know what, I can do it and you can too. So, Rosemary and Lance, thank you both for being here, and I'm very honored to have you on our program. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, and we'll see you at our next podcast.